That sound is the leaky shower head that came with your place. The one that has you starting every morning with a low-pressure nightmare that's nearly your age. Stop settling for someone else's shower. Consider this your wake-up call to swap it for the relaxing feel of a Moen shower head and see how one easy change changes everything. Water designs our life. Who designs for water? Moen.
Welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. My name is Curtis Wilson, along with my partner,
Brian Siegler. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Oh, buddy, having a great Thursday night. Man cave fully engaged. I got your Bravos and the Rays on the TV. I got the Sox Mets on the TV. And I got the Pelicans Jazz on the TV as well, waiting for the Lakers Clippers to start. And that game's going to the wire, man.
I see that, and I got mine pulled up here. I'm watching the end of the Pelicans here. I'm hoping that my Lakers are going to take care of some Clippers tonight. That's the hope. So we'll see how it goes.
If Brian sounds distracted later in the episode, guys, something's going on with that game, and he is focused on it. So don't be shocked. This can happen because we are sports fans, even outside of our Hokies. So. Yeah, man. But, Brian, we have a lot to unload tonight.
Yeah, a little something big came out yesterday that we want to have a little discussion on.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to get there, but we're going to break a couple quick Hokie quick takes. Brian, let's go back. Da'Wain Lofton, 5'10", 175-pound wide receiver out of Northside High School in Fort Worth, Texas, commits. The commitment comes primarily over Mississippi State. Huge win for the Hokies, moving from Houston up to Fort Worth. What do you think about Da'Wain Lofton and what you see out of this guy?
One word, speed.
Woo.
He's going to take some tops off the defenses. I think he's going to be somebody that can make some big plays for us. And it'll be nice having another legit burner on the field, in a year or two once he gets his feet under him as a Hokie. So I'm looking forward. That's a big pickup for us. I think he's definitely going to be a solid contributor. I'm not sure if he's going to be a day one contributor, but I think just his speed and some of the versatility I saw with him playing multiple positions and doing stuff on special teams, I think that's going to get him on the field sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. And you talk about that versatility. Last year in the Texas 5A, which is one of those creme de la creme conferences or regional settings in that division, like, the VHL has our regions. Texas AP 5A first team All-State. In his district, he was the MVP. Listen to the stat line. 60 rushing attempts, 332 yards, 13 touchdowns, 55 receptions, 1,216 yards, 15 touchdowns. You talk about him being a day one contributor. You kind of look at his body, Brian. He's kind of built. I mean, he puts on 10, 15 pounds, man. He's D1 ready, and he's really got close to 12 months to do that. Whether it be some special packages or coming in, like you talk about his speed, maybe on kickoffs or punt return, I really think he could be a day one contributor just because of that versatility, and that would be all from the seed.
Yeah, that'd be big time. And like you said, I think special teams is going to be probably the easiest way to get him on the field right away. I know that we have some other wide receivers that have departed, so it's not a room that's completely filled out. So there are going to be some opportunities for him there. but I think special teams is definitely the avenue to getting him on the field right out the gate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So great land there. Helps move the Hokies up in the rankings. He is a 3-star, 87. Not even a top 100 player in Texas. Why should we keep going there? That is why.
Yeah.
That's why. And you want to do the comparison, you look at where he lands, and if he were to be in the state of Virginia, he would be a top 50 player. And the people who say it's not worth it, no. Going to these states of this size, your Floridas, your Texas, your Californias, you have to. Whether you get one or you get 5 guys in a year, that's why you got to do it.
Exactly. I mean, we talk about what we see here in Virginia, and I would love Virginia talent. I love getting Virginia talent in, but especially Florida and Texas. Florida for geography and the footprint that the ACC has, and Texas for the experience that some of our coaching staff have in the area. You're a fool not to at least try to get something down there, just because of the depth they have and the fact that a lot of these guys that are in that fringe, high 3-star, low 4-star range tend to not be the guys that are, looking to stay in state or not getting big offers from the A&Ms and the Texases and the Oklahomas.
Yeah, 100%, man. Well, speaking of Virginia, Brian, this is kind of near and dear to us being here in the state, but also going to be obviously, affecting a lot of the recruits we already have on board. The VHSL came out this week. They have decided on option 3, which I think we all can agree option 3 probably was the way to go. Don't take away seasons from these guys.
No.
So, option 3, guys, if you haven't known, is basically the delay of all the VHL sports and adopting what they call a condensed interscholastic plan. So basically it's going to align as follows. Winter sports are going to run December 14th through February 20th. That's kind of its normal cycle. First contest starts on the 20th, a few days after Christmas. Fall sports are going to start the 15th and run February and run through May 1st. So it's going to overlap with the spring sports, which are going to start April 12th through June 26th. That's usually a normal for spring sports.
Yeah.
Brian, you played. Do you like what they did?
I like what they did a lot because it does keep the integrity of having the sport played in the year. Because for a lot of these guys that play high school ball, when you play high school ball, that's the last time you play that sport in an organized fashion to that level. So stepping away from it is a big deal. And I think this gives them an opportunity to still get some of that element, even though you're not playing in the fall and even though you're not playing the schedule that you would normally be playing in terms of the number of teams and things of that nature. But it still gives you a chance to, strap them up with your teammates one more time and, go out the way you want to go out and not go out because, pandemic said you couldn't play. So I think that's big. Most of the guys that are playing D1 sports more than likely are opting out anyway, especially under, since we're not playing in the fall at all. If there were fall sports, I think they would play potentially depending on the situation, but with it being moved completely out of the fall, there's no way that I think that most Division I athletes are going to play their senior year at this point. I could be wrong, but I think that'll stand for at least the majority of Power 5 players, if not most of Division I players. But this does open up some opportunities for some of these other guys to maybe get a look that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. You've got some fairly talented skill position players that don't always get a lot of reps because there's a limited number, and you always want to get your most talented guys out there. So I think that's where an opportunity stands for a lot of these guys. Some of these skill position players showing what they have. So that could open up some maybe, D2, D3 opportunities for guys that otherwise thought that their high school careers might be done after high school, or their football careers might be done after high school.
Absolutely. You said it already. The guys who are going D1, FBS, FCS, they're probably not going to play. And they shouldn't. I'll be straight up. Just because if they play, the season would, it's technically going to be ending pretty late spring. Then you're talking about recoup. And most of those guys whether it be FBS or FCS, they're heading to school in June. They're already starting the collegiate workout plans. Then obviously your normal training camps.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for them. You made the perfect point. The guys who could be looked at D2, D3, and AIA, those are the guys who benefit from this because it's like, just go out there and play. Because now you think of like Jalen Jones down at Thomas Jefferson or Asbury up at Stafford. They're probably not going to play. We respect that decision completely. But now the guys behind them will get essentially probably truly an extra year to prove whether they be juniors or seniors. And you made that point. Maybe they catch the eye. They can't play at a D1 level. They're not built. They don't have the skill. But your alma mater, the school up the street, Randolph-Macon, Virginia Union, Virginia State. Maybe that's the chance they get to go in there and say, hey, this is nice. We wouldn't even thought about this kid because he was behind this guy, and this guy was going to get all the reps. So I really like it. And I like it that we're going to give the chance. I'll say this. My neighbor behind me, his son plays basketball. He was so worried that they were going to completely cancel sports and he wouldn't get a senior season. So I'm really happy for the kids that are going to get to play their senior seasons and maybe some kids who get opportunities they would not have had. So it's pretty awesome. All right, folks, we're getting to the big stuff now. Brian, yesterday, mid-afternoon, it kind of happened. Go ahead, play the tape, and give me your thoughts.
After much consideration with my family, I have decided to opt out of the 2020 college football season and began preparing for the 2021 NFL Draft. I am opting out due to uncertain health conditions and regulations and all the other opt-outs going on in football right now. I tragically lost my mother, Robin, January 2nd, 2018 to an illness, and I cannot afford to lose another parent or loved one. Though the competitor in me badly wants to play this season, I cannot ignore what's going on in my heart, and I must make the decision that brings me the most peace. So thank you, Virginia Tech, my coaches, teammates, and anyone else who has supported me in the past. I wish you all the best, and stay safe, and God bless.
Yeah, so that was Caleb Farley opting out of his season at Virginia Tech for this fall to prepare for the draft. Most of that stemming from a wariness of not wanting to take the risk of being someone that would get someone else in his family sick. And, respect that decision 100%, especially for a guy that, all of us have been talking about. We knew he was gone after this year. We knew it was coming. And I understand with some of the things we're going to talk about in a few minutes and just everything going on and the uncertainty of, are the protocols that we have in place something that's going to be good enough to keep everyone safe? 100% respect the decision. On top of not wanting to maybe injure yourself in these unknown circumstances and, hurt your draft stock in that way. Definitely want to make sure that you're taking care of those around you that you love. So, respect it 100% and wish him nothing but the best and just, hope he does well with the training leading up to the draft. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, man. The reason he gives was, you can't question it. The guy lost his mom less than 2 years ago in a battle with cancer, and he's got his dad. And I think the first thing he thinks about is, do I want to play? Yeah. But I've got my dad. He's probably going to be the only person here every week coming to all my games, watching me. And even with the protocols in place, we see it like from today. You saw the Phillies, right?
Yep.
They haven't been around Marlins since Sunday, and 2 guys just tested positive today. Who's not to say, we're playing Pitt, and they tested fine, and they were bubbled. But then a couple days later, somebody's not feeling right. And I think for him, he's got his dad, and he's looking ahead to his future and saying, I'm going to go to the NFL next year. I'm going to have my family set for life. This is an unmitigated risk I'm not willing to take. Not so much for maybe getting hurt or something, but to potentially get someone in my family sick. I have no issues with it. No issues. You know, you see the video when Schefter and everything, when it broke, you could tell it was a very emotional decision for him. He, you know, gave shout outs to his teammates, shout outs to the coaches at Tech. So I have no issue with it. It is kind of funny. Brian, guess who is now the number 1 rated cornerback for the ACC?
Would that be Jermaine Waller?
Oh, yeah.
So you mean a Hokie opts out, and now we've got another Hokie as the number 1 corner in the conference?
Yeah.
DB who? DBU.
Oh, yeah, and Armani Chapman, out of, I think, 200 true freshmen that had played enough snaps last year, was the number 9 true freshman corner in the country.
Oh, yeah.
We're okay in that department. We wish Caleb all the best. But, Brian, as I was sitting there and that announcement was made, David Teal, you know, the Virginia Hall of Fame writer, pops out, I think we've got something coming down soon. And when Caleb made he made that tweet, I got to put 2 and 2 together real quick. I shot you a text. Dude, it's happening today.
Yep.
Because it was like, yep, they've told the coaches have told the players. Caleb made
It's about to get public.
It's about to get public. So, folks, we are here. The ACC yesterday essentially released its guidelines for the fall, including the ACC football schedule, and some schedules, you know, for the non-Olympic sports, which I give credit to the conference for outlining that because they want to give those guys a chance to play too. But, were you shocked, Brian, that they released it yesterday when everything up yesterday was saying, they're not going to release anything today?
Was a little shocked, just because I thought they were still some kinks to iron out. It was what it sounded like, and then all of a sudden, everything was good. I'm wondering if, and we'll get to that issue later, but I'm wondering if the +1 format was the quibbling part of the deal that was being made, especially in relation to what the SEC ultimately came out with later. So I'm wondering if that was the big thing there, but it's really interesting seeing what they came out with here. It was not what we were, I think, thinking. I think a lot of us were kind of maybe leaning towards a pod situation.
True.
Up until, you know, maybe the last few days, and all of a sudden, you know, we get a different format. So this does create some more interesting matchups, I think. But it does not come with its without its controversy. So I'll let you pick up with some of that as well.
Oh yeah, man. Well, let's just start. Let's start with the dates first, because I want everybody to kind of know the succession of things. You know, per the release, the schedule will start the week of September 7th through 12th. September 7th is Labor Day night. I think they specifically did that. I think they want to get that national game on. Not guaranteed, but I think they're going to try to maybe fit 1, maybe 2. You know, Labor Day week. Hey, let's play a 3:30 and a 7:30. Screw it. Let's get some national publicity. You know, and maybe even that week, maybe they even spread a couple more out. To make easier on the travel schedule. Maybe let's do one Thursday. Let's do one Friday. Let's get the rest done on that Saturday. I see that. But right now it's 13 weeks for 11 games. The ACC championship would either be December 12th or December 19th. That is something very interesting that they didn't set that date. That is a week after where it normally would be, 1 to 2 weeks after. So that makes me raise my eyebrow. So what do you think about the layout of the dates right now, Brian, before we get into the format and some of the other stuff?
Well, the layout of the dates are telling me that they're not sure what they're doing with the bowls. 100% right there, right away. I'm thinking that other than probably the major bowls, there ain't going to be no bowls this year. That would be my guess. Just looking at those dates and looking at, you know, I will get to it later, but, you know, even other conferences starting later than we are.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that we're looking at maybe taking anything not at least December 28th or later off the table in terms of bowls. I don't know what you're thinking about that schedule. That was my first takeaway seeing these dates thrown out there.
Well, I think maybe with the bowls, maybe not. 5 months is a long time away. You tell me the vaccine comes down in November, or there will be bowls. I don't even doubt that one bit. But to me, I think it's more of it's almost like they're saying if things happen and we have to cancel a game, let's build in not one. We've already got 2 bye weeks. Let's build in 2 more buffer weeks.
Yeah.
Where something does happen, and let's say they can't play because we had an outbreak here at this school. Well, if we need that game, we now have a buffer built in to where we can say, hey, you guys are cleaned up now, you're straight. Here's the deal. You're going to play on the 12th. Or you're going to play on the 5th to make up this game, and we're going to see what happens. If we need extra games, we can have them. So I think you talk about the bowl. I just see now they've built themselves in. It's a 13-week season, but no, now it's a 15-week season because of how much they've extended it.
Yeah. And I think what they were saying, what I was trying to say, I guess, is they built themselves that buffer. They're valuing the regular season over having to get the bowls in.
Oh, God,
and I think that's important.
Oh, gotcha. And if you think about it, I believe with the ACC, 19th is usually the first weekend of bowls. The ACC is not affiliated with any of those bowls. Yeah. The ACC stuff really doesn't start until the end of the next week going into Christmas, and definitely after Christmas, because, you've got Independence Bowl, Pinstripe Bowl. They are always right after Christmas, 2:30. So I think that's right. But I think they're just trying to build in some safety precautions, and that's fine. That's what you've got to do if you're going to try to get this season in this crazy time. I have no issue with it. So you mentioned it already. Let's jump to it. The format. It is 10 conference games. It is 1 out-of-conference game. We have no divisions.
No divisions.
No divisions. The 2 top teams will meet in the ACC championship game.
Including Notre Dame.
Including Notre Dame. I'm fine with that though. I say it half-heartedly. I'm fine with it because it's a lot more exposure for the conference. And some, money. We'll get to that in a few minutes too. So they're going to play the 10 conference games. Now you have some normal divisional matchups, what we'll see every year, but some are canceled. Probably the most notable for Virginia Tech is there is no Georgia Tech game.
No rec.
No Ramblin' Wreck, Georgia Tech. Still one of my best experiences was when we beat that ass in 05 with Game Day. Shout out to my fraternity brother David Fuqua who got us tickets and we went up there, did the whole experience. Unbelievable. But we don't play Georgia Tech. Okay. I don't think that's any love loss. I don't think anybody's upset about that. But you're kind of seeing some funkier things. We're not the only ones affected. A few other teams aren't playing some traditional teams they play on their side of the divisions.
Yep.
But I think we all get it for this year. Now, what do you think? I mean, did anything else jump out to you, or do you think they got enough of the big games right to where it's like, okay, we lost Georgia Tech, this team lost that? Yeah.
I think they got the big ones right. If I had any qualm with the schedule, I would have probably replaced, since it was, I think they were both scheduled as home games anyway, replaced Boston College with Georgia Tech.
Okay.
That would have been my change because travel wise, it's about the same. I would say give or take for them.
I think we're still playing Boston College though.
That's what I'm saying. I would have traded. I would rather play Georgia Tech at home versus BC at home because the traveling for each team would probably be about the same.
Yeah.
BC coming down to us, Georgia Tech coming up to us. So that would have been my trade-off there. I care more about the Georgia Tech rivalry than I do about BC. Short of a few years of Matt Ryan, no one really gives a shit about BC.
It's the damn crossover game that every Tech fan is like, why the fuck we gotta play them? Well, because you were in the Big East together.
Yeah. Again, it wasn't a matchup that really heated up that much until both teams were in the ACC.
It's true. It's very, very true. Now, Brian, we look at, there is right now, the ACC currently has on the table, I put in air quotations, a +1. That opponent, it must be played in the home state of the ACC school. It must meet the medical requirements. They must meet the medical requirements, protocols set by the ATT. So in essence, what it's saying is there will be no out-of-conference away games or neutral site games. So UVA gets lucky they don't have to play Georgia. UNC gets lucky they don't have to play Auburn. You know, they have to agree to the ACC protocols, which I think if it is whether it's a P5 or an independent or an FCS school, they're going to agree because it's money on the table for them.
It's also more or less the same protocols that they're probably going through in their conference anyway.
Exactly. My gut says most teams are just going to find someone in their state, very close neighbor, that'll fulfill this need. I think we're just going to keep Liberty. I really do, unless they do not abide by our protocols, which might be the case because, you know, they've already done some stupid crap down there. What do you think? Do you think, would you stay with Liberty? Or would you
I think a lot of it would depend on the contract language and whether that contract language applies to, since we are playing an out-of-conference game and they meet the qualifications, is that agreement still something that we would need to honor? I would think not, just based on everything else. But again, there's some contractual things that I'm not privy to, so I'm not going to speak with any authority on that. That being said, I think there may be better options out there that are less controversial in terms of the larger fan base. And not just the political aspects of it, I guess. So, I mean, I have no problem with keeping Liberty on there, especially if that's the path of least resistance. But I wouldn't mind adding either ODU back in there or getting a JMU or someone like that on the schedule as well. So I could really go any direction with that. As long as we play in lane, that's all that really matters to me.
That is all that really matters. I also think this is one of those caveats. I think if things were to change, I think they would cut this down quick. I think they would cut the +1 quick and say.
That's the easiest one to get rid of, and it just all you do is you just turn that into an extra open week.
Exactly. And you know, I don't really care who it is. I think right now most Tech fans want to get out of the Liberty deal because they feel like it's probably going to become an ECU deal. Which you don't want to happen. So we got the dates, we got the format. Let's talk money in television, because if the reason this is happening with Notre Dame is because there ain't no doubt that one of the biggest keys in getting this deal done was getting Notre Dame. They are not sharing part. They are sharing all of their NBC money.
Equal pie.
And other various sources, because remember they have some additional things where they pull funds in from that no other team is available. Now, since we really don't know the Notre Dame contract with NBC, we really can't really calculate it. Some people are like, it's only like $15 million a year, which I call bullshit on. I think it's a hell of a lot more, because if you look at that contract that apparently was ingrained about 10 years ago, it's like $15 million. You do some of the other math, like this team would not be doing this if they were 10 to 12 million behind in revenue. They wouldn't.
No.
It wouldn't stay independent. It wouldn't make fiscal sense. But now all the TV res, all the other sources into a pie, chopped up 15 ways. Any qualms, any questions you have about that?
I mean, I like that as a kind of mea culpa for letting your guys potentially play for the fucking ACC championship game. If we've got to have a trade-off, that's a hell of a good trade-off in a season of pandemic where a lot of these athletic departments are hemorrhaging money.
Hold on, Brian. What you're saying? This is what I'm sure that the ACC ADs looked at Swarbrick and the guys at Notre Dame, and what do you think they said?
Fuck you, pay me.
Yes, sir. We had to slip. Yep. I had to let you slip that in there. That's what they said to him.
That's exactly what went down. And good for them for putting pressure on there and saying, hey, if you want to be a part of this conference during this thing and potentially play for our conference championship, you need to come up off some of that green that you're sitting on there. And like you said, there's a reason that they've been able to maintain independence. It's not just that I'm sure they have donors at the wazoo. They've got this, that, and the other that funds their athletic program, but there's no way that they're at least making by themselves what an individual ACC team is making in media dollars. So just adding that into the pot and spreading it around is going to be nice.
Yep.
And I'm sure they're probably making more than that, especially with all the other avenues that you were speaking on. So I think it's a good idea. I guess the other part of this whole money thing is, and we haven't really addressed this yet, is we've seen some waffling from like the Dukes and, Bronco Mendenhall making a statement the other day about, things, safety of the players and things like that. So, should a team opt out, what's going to happen with this money, Curtis?
If a school opts out, I almost want to be like, as the other teams that are there, man, fuck you, pay us. I don't think that will happen, though. I don't think they will have to give up their full share, but if a team opts out, I think you're going to see the commissioner along with the other ADs say, listen, they don't have to now fund a football team for the operational expenses. The scholarships, what you pay your coaches, that's different. Whoa. Let's not even go there. I think they'll probably have to give up half. I think that would probably be something where it says, if you choose to opt out, this is what you're getting. The rest we're putting back into the pot. We're splitting it equally.
Let's freeze there. Half of the normal ACC or half of the ACC NBC combined pot?
Everything. So what your share would be from, like, for example, let's say you put Notre Dame's money in and it comes up to $30 million. Because last year I think the ACC was at 27, and you just say, give or take, Notre Dame's maybe roughly 30. And you just basically say, you're going to get 15, fund what you need to fund. The other 15 is going back to the other schools that are playing. Because what you're doing is you're losing your rights because this is supposed to be to fund your football, pay for the expenses, and all this stuff. You're opting out. You're not playing. Personally, I think it was some of those statements were pandering, and you can be concerned. We're all concerned, about what's going on.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's taking this lightly.
No, but when you see that statement, it's just like, dude, come on. Nobody's taking this lightly. You look at the protocols that are going in place. It would not surprise me if in the next, what are we 6 weeks away from first weekend kick?
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if they eventually said maybe 2-3 weeks from now, listen, you got to figure out a bubble for your players. Talk with your academics and say they're going to all be online. They're basically going to do their class here inside your athletic building, train, yada, yada, back home. Almost to the way what's happening with Major League Baseball and the NFL. It's going to be on the player's personal responsibility to not go out. Guys, don't go to Tots, don't go to Sharkies, stay away from fraternity row, house parties. You can do that next semester. Actually, you should be careful with it next semester as well, even if we have stuff, because, there's still things out there. But that's my thought. My first thought would be give them nothing, but then realistically, moderate me says you got to give them something because it does fund other sports.
Yeah, I think I'm more in they get 50% of what they would have gotten under a normal season, and the Notre Dame money gets split over just the teams that are actually playing.
All right.
So I don't think they should be entitled to the Notre Dame money because they're opting out of a system that included Notre Dame. So the system wouldn't exist without Notre Dame. So if you're opting out of that system, you opt out of their money.
Good problem there. Now, something else that's interesting is the TV for this year because, really for Notre Dame and their contract, it's normally they get all their home games on NBC. But with this, do you think – I feel like that's all could possibly change because you're talking about – depending on the way it looked in G5 school, like Conference USA said they're basically playing an 8-game schedule this year, and I think one out of conference. in state, very similar to the ACC guidelines. So there's still going to be a lot of football. But the way I kind of see it is if they do this, we're avoiding them. So it doesn't affect Tech, but, until the ACC championship game, but I think you're going to see them get a couple of away games. I think they're going to get, if they choose to go, if you have the 6 true games there, and let's say the out of conference days.
Yeah.
I think it will be looked at least 1 or 2 of their away games because, the conference could be putting stress and say, we're going to put this on NBC. They play Florida State. Let's say Norvell gets Florida State in the right direction, and that's a midseason game. They're 3-1. Notre Dame's 4-0.
Yeah.
You don't. If it's down at FSU, and I've got to go look at the calendar to see where that game is. I believe it.
FSU is actually a home game for them.
Okay,
so here's what I would think, and I'll throw this out there to you.
Okay.
So their away games are BC, Georgia Tech, UNC, Pitt, and Wake Forest. I could see ACC flexing his muscles and saying, fuck you, you're not playing UNC or Pitt on NBC, but we'll give you BC or Wake Forest.
I got what you're saying. You're saying they're going to try to flex their muscle on their home game.
They're big games.
I got you.
That are away. So the ACC is going to say, you can play some away games on your NBC contract, but those big games that you're playing away, they're going to be on the ACC network.
Yeah, I got what you're saying. So that makes a lot of sense. Flex the smaller games in there, but the Pitt, the UNCs who are projected to be, pretty good this year. Nah, we're making sure they're going to be on the ACC. Agreed with that. So it will be interesting to see how that works. That's probably a lot of legal stuff that involves a lot of lawyers. So yeah, man. But either way, the next piece to kind of look at is we're doing this. Money looks straight, format straight, date straight. Brian, our buddy, John Earl the fourth, Hampton Sydney alum as yourself, sir.
Tigers.
He hit us up with the mileage chart, and Virginia Tech, well, we are the low balls here. Virginia Tech's traveling basically, John did it by flight. So basically, if you fly from here to here, Tech's only traveling 835 miles for all of their away games. Significantly low. Now, you kind of look across the spectrum, it makes sense who your larger ones are. It's Miami, it's FSU, and it's BC.
Yep.
Miami is, by his calculations, traveling the furthest, over 3,700 miles. BC at 2,700. Take that back. Notre Dame also 2,700. But then you kind of it starts compressing more and more, and you kind of see it for like BC and Miami. They have maybe one drivable game. It's BC if they want to bust down to Syracuse. It's Miami if they want to bus over to Tallahassee. And that's still about an 8 or 10 hour drive. But you kind of look at it and you got the data in front of you there. It's actually kind of level set across. I mean, yes, we get the favorable one because, like UVA, for example, has to travel over 2,000 miles.
We're honestly the outlier. Like,
we are a
good amount.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of like 1,200 and above. Like, so. There's a big difference just as the starting point there. And, it helps. 2 things helped us in this case. So the biggest one is that we're in the traditional ACC footprint from jump. So right away, we're going to have less travel by default than some of the other teams that were added later, especially the BCs and the Florida teams. So that helped us. Number 2, the fact that on our original schedule, we were already playing some of our longest competitors at home, like BC, like Miami.
Yep.
So they just kind of put those into the schedule. So really we're looking at like, Pitt and Louisville being our biggest travel games.
Yeah, that's it.
Everything else is in the Carolina region. So, and Wake Forest is obviously just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
We can legitimately, the 3 of our away games we can drive. Beat Carolina and Wake. Get in the bus, boys. Let's get down 81.
Yep.
And let's go.
If they're letting people in the stadium.
If they're letting people in the stadium.
Which they haven't gotten to that point yet in terms of at least a conference level guideline, which I don't think they're going to do because certain states are going to have certain rules and it's going to be hard to have a blanket policy. Like they might set a ceiling. They might set a ceiling, but they're not going to set a floor.
Yeah. What will be interesting with that, and this is, we haven't discussed it yet. This wasn't even on the agenda, but I think what's got to happen is now that it's set, is once a few other protocols get in place, my bet is each and every one of these ADs and the presidents are probably going to go to their state governor and request we want a special waiver. Regardless, because here it is, Lane Stadium, 66,000 people, open air. There's no crowd there. We can effectively social distance double 12 feet. We would like to put 15,000, 20,000 people in here. We're going to effectively social distance. We're going to require, and I think they're going to go through the political route and, go to the governors, Carolina, Duke, all these places are going to do the exact same thing. This is how many we'd like and wait for the approval. Cause they could let's go with the high number, 23,000. Can't do 23. We looked at the layout, but you can do 15. Boom. Cool. Right with us. And, then obviously the logistical people in the ticket offices are going to have crazy figuring out who gets tickets.
Exactly. I think what they'll end up doing is something like if you said 20,000 would be the benchmark.
Yeah.
You go every other row.
Yep.
Seating people, and then you go 2 seats between any block of seats sold.
Yeah. The seats, by the way, I did measurements. Seats are 38.5 inches.
Yeah. So if you put 2 seats between a block of tickets sold, you've got your 6-foot social distancing between your parties.
Yeah, exactly. And then clearly from one row to another is clearly more than 6 feet. Plus you're talking about, you're looking at the back of someone, not the front of someone. That's got to be figured out. I'm hoping they will allow fans in. If they don't, I won't be shocked. I won't be upset either. But that kind of is what it is.
I mean, we're starting to get used to that with some of the sports we're watching at present, especially with my Lakers up 13-9. Sorry, I looked to the left right as I was talking about it. I was like, okay, there we go, 13-9. I like it. Good start.
Watching the baseball game, seeing no one there, it's kind of awkward too, seeing the cardboard cutouts, but you kind of get used to it. And the funny piece is a lot of these guys in all these sports have played to empty places before.
Yeah.
And someone will even tell you, we just get in the zone, we couldn't tell you what's going on outside the field of play because that's the way they're built.
And I mean, especially when you talk about baseball, I mean, some of these, these podunk single A teams play a day game in the middle of the week. They're used to playing to 100 fans. So, I mean, it's probably not that different than what you're looking at now.
Well, let me say this. The bro-in-law, we had a conversation about it, and he said the way it looks is the way it reminded him of perfect games. You've heard of perfect game, right?
Yeah.
He said that's the way it's going to feel. And he's like, the guys who play at the major league level, he's like, every single one of those guys play perfect game. So they've been used to being, in a stadium with no one there barely, just your family maybe, 100 people in a 40,000 seat stadium. He's like, but we're built that way. We're built to focus on the game, not the crowd. So yeah, Brian, as crazy as this year is, there's some crazy good matchups that now, because of all this craziness we stumbled into. Now, Virginia Tech, tell everybody, we tell them the normals we aren't seeing, the 3 teams.
All right. So obviously we don't have, Georgia Tech. We've already talked about them.
Yep.
The one that we added though. The big one.
The big one.
Clemson. You ever heard of them?
Oh God, yeah.
Then we also, we talked about Georgia Tech dropping off, but we added in NC State, which is kind of, I think, a fairly even swap in terms of skill level. I think Georgia Tech more is kind of trending up while NC State is trending down. NC State maybe has a couple more guys talented on the roster right now, but I think they're floundering and they're very anemic offensively, just like Georgia Tech. So I don't think that's a big difference in the trade-off there. And
Easier travel.
So, I mean, those are the two big ones there.
Now, we kept Louisville, which was very nice. Now they are trending up. Satterfield's got them going, in the right direction. And we get Wake again, local. They're sort of down with Jamie Newman transferring. Always a good defense though with, Clausen. So, I mean, I like the way somebody saw. We traded Penn State for Clemson. Okay, we lost that trade. I'm sorry. Clemson is better than Penn State.
Clemson is a better team than not just talent wise, but coaching top to bottom. Even though no disrespect there to anybody on Penn State staff, but
Gabbard's got it running. He's got it hung. We traded NC State for Georgia Tech, as you mentioned. Even swap. Louisville was on the schedule anyway. We're going to play them. And essentially, we traded Wake for Middle Tennessee and North Alabama.
Yeah, for two lower also ran teams that were on our schedule. So
I think we made out okay. But some other schools didn't. But I've just been looking, and you think about they've got it set. I'm sure there's someone in the ACC office in Greensboro big schedule because yes, you got Clemson VT. It's down at Lane. Whether they have fans or not, that's a big game.
Yep.
What about Clemson plays Miami? Clemson plays Notre Dame. Holy shit.
Oh yeah.
UNC gets FSU, Norvell under his first year. UNC also gets Notre Dame.
Let me throw this one at you.
Yeah.
Look at Syracuse's away schedule.
Let me get
All right.
that up here.
I'll run it down for you, buddy.
Run it down.
Clemson away, Louisville away, UNC away, Notre Dame away, Pitt away.
They're not winning an away game. There was somebody there too that had a pretty brutal away schedule. Was it UVA?
UVA's isn't great. Clemson, FSU, Miami, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest.
Well, not great, Bob.
Not great at all. And they still have to play a couple tough home games as well with Louisville and UNC.
Oh my God. So UVA kind of got screwed in a way. Syracuse they just put Syracuse in the trash dumpster. Like, we don't really care about you. Just go
Syracuse,
lose.
you can opt out because any road trip you're taking, you're losing. You go take that L.
It's not only they're going to take the L, they might take the L by 3 to 4 touchdowns in every game, even Pitt. But let me get back because that's hilarious. All right. So then Louisville, Miami, Pitt, Clemson, and you can see that being a war. Pitt, Notre Dame. I mean, this is probably some of the best stuff that's come out of the schedule is because you're having everybody to play each other, you're seeing more highlighted matchups. Now, I'm hoping the ACC doesn't screw the pooch and force we're going to play 3 of these games in one weekend. Like, dear God, guys, no. Spread these things out. While we're crossing our fingers hoping to God there's a season. So we can have that's when's Tech playing noon? Well, that's the 7:00 kick. That's the game I'm going to be on. So that's I don't know. It's one of these things, and you mentioned the SEC, and that just broke this afternoon as we were getting everything together. It's going to be interesting to see that 10-team schedule too, which I'm sure when they release who's playing who, probably in the next few days, we'll probably hit on the next podcast. But Brian, we're hey, cross our fingers. Please I don't care if there's any fans or not. Please let us have a season. There are some matchups that I want to see.
Oh yeah, big time, man.
Some not including us.
Yeah, it's going to be some really good matchups, and I think I know we'll talk about it some more here when we talk about our ideal look at how these games are going to be arranged on the schedule. But I'm looking at this, and I wouldn't have a problem going to a 9 or a 10 game conference schedule going forward.
Hell no.
And just getting rid of the divisions and trying to balance the schedule as best you can every year, so that no one's getting completely dick shitted like Syracuse.
And UVA. There you go. All right.
I mean, I'd be down for that just because, some of these, as much as, having a couple games with a lower ticket price is nice.
Yes.
Getting into Tech, and especially those September games, getting into Lane and, crushing an opponent. I would much rather add maybe one high profile opponent a year and maybe one more like Wake Forest style opponent. That's, across the divisions that we've been playing traditionally, and just have at it and do 10 because, that's to me, that's much more compelling than any of those non-conference games. And especially if we're able to work in something with, we're talking about, these additional weeks in the schedule. I don't know if that's something that might not be a long-term staple as well, having maybe an additional week here or there, having, 2 open weeks for most teams.
That might be something that comes out of it, is pushing all conference championship games back a week. That wouldn't surprise me. Basically saying Thanksgiving's no longer going to be the big game or the last game of the season before conference championships. You can work out the Navy Army game at some point in time. But if you say we could get Notre Dame in the next 5 years and we have 15 teams, I would not be opposed to going to a 10-2.
Yeah.
10 conference games, 1 Power 5 game. You can get 1 group of 5 game.
Yep.
And so people are like, well, that screws FCS teams. Hold on. Why not say this? Find your FCS team. JMU, William and Mary. Hey, we want you guys to come up at the end of our camp and scrimmage us. And could you put the scrimmages on TV? Yes. Dear Lord, you could put the scrimmages on TV. Now, it might be a little funky because when you do a scrimmage, the thing is, as you know, when you scrimmage someone, it's like, listen, let's do just red zone sets. You guys do 2 series, we'll do 2 series. Let's do this, let's do that. It won't, because the one thing I will say that the Power 5 schools will do in those situations is they will not play a full-on game. It will be very situational. But as Tech fans, if you're saying, hey, we're going to give JMU $400,000 to come up and scrimmage with us, hell yeah. Stroke it. We can get situational against real people that we want to hit versus, hey, don't take out so-and-so's leg. Jesus Christ. He's our best, linebacker.
And guess what?
Yeah.
Lane can get some more dollars in the bank there. It's essentially like having a better extra spring game.
Yeah. Well, hell, that game won't even put it on the season tickets. Just do general admission up front.
Yeah.
And just basically say, here's
like
what
a flat 20 or something like that?
I say flat 30. Flat 30, wherever you want to sit, but you got to get in line. So, same with the parking lots. This is a week where parking lots are open. It's 20 for any parking lot associated with Tech. It's 30 for tickets. Now, how do you make it really interesting is you basically say, you probably set aside some student tickets, and for them you say, here's your tickets for this game. Go in there and have fun. But I like it because, it really gets the conference that whoever the best 2 teams in the conference, they're going to play in the end. Because basically you're going to play, almost 70% of the teams in the league. Everybody wants to schedule a good out of conference opponent, and you want that group of 5 because it's essentially the build up. So I'm good.
Yeah, and with 15, I don't think that with playing a 10-game schedule, you're not learning any more or less than you were learning with a divisional setup either. So it's not like saying, oh, well, the 2 best teams in this 10-game format with no divisions, I'd say 9 times out of 10 you'd end up with the same 2 teams. And in some cases,
Better.
you'd end up, the conference that had the two better teams doesn't get screwed. So I think there's benefits in that case where, if one division had two legit teams, you don't end up screwing one team versus the other. So, you really have a more true, I think, representation of how good the conference is. And I think that's something that would be good to see because, let's be honest, I mean, as good of a run as UVA had last year, they weren't the second best team in the conference last year.
They were not the second.
So I don't think that told us anything about how good or bad Clemson was or how good or bad UVA was.
Yep.
Because UVA probably wasn't the second best team in the conference. They might not even been the third best team in the conference.
Well, I mean, you go back to the mid 2000 teams, and when it was FSU and Clemson were the two best in the conference. But then you go back to the early parts of it where, it was, for a couple of years there, it was, DP and Miami for 06 and 04 were the best. Now, 04 we got lucky because that last game of the year was a de facto conference championship game. But it's there's been times like that. And what you do by going to this format is, one thing the Big 12 got right with the amount of teams they have is, we're going to play, the two best teams are going to play. And they're going to probably play once in the regular season. And you're going to see two good games. In fact, case in point, a couple years ago, Texas with Dicker the kicker hits that 48-yarder down at the Red River Shootout, beats Texas beats Oklahoma, go to the Big 12 championship game, Oklahoma pays them back in a really good game. You're going to see that. And it doesn't hurt your conference because if somebody's walking in there with both teams walking there with one loss, I beat them. Hey, they redeem you. They beat every team on their schedule. And it's going to be really tough not to put that team in the playoff to say, I played 13 games. I won all but one. I played 12 teams. I beat all 12 teams.
Yes.
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's a pipe dream. Maybe it's something we create later on. All right, Brian, you mentioned it. We got to do it because we know who we're playing. Let's say it. We need to create the perfect schedule for this year. Y'all, I'm going to be straight up. Me and Brian talked on the phone for 40 minutes putting this together earlier this afternoon because if we were trying to spitball this thing on the fly, the pod, I think we're about at 48 minutes right now. The pod would have went an hour and 56 minutes, and y'all be like, what the hell is wrong with y'all? So, Brian, kick us off. September 12th, Lane Stadium.
Boston College Eagles will be visiting Lane Stadium.
I have no issue with this. Same as last year. We could have beat them. Damn you, Ron Willis, for throwing all those picks. No issue with this. Good right out the gate. Now, the next two are kind of interesting. And me and you were talking about it.
Yep.
We're setting up back-to-back road game, guys. The first one, let's go down to Duke. Let's avenge that loss.
Let's avenge that loss. Let's go ahead and say, hey, that was a fluke. We didn't have our starting quarterback. The one we did start was playing injured, unknowing to most of everyone else in the world at the time.
Yep.
And we just weren't firing on all cylinders. So let's go down there, avenge that. That'll be week 2.
And let's set it up.
And that's going to set up a big week 3 matchup at Chapel Hill against the University of North Carolina Tar Heels.
Damn right. Let's get on 81. Let's drive down. Then let's get on 220 all the way down. Get over 29, 40. Let's get into Chapel Hill. Let's get them back. Now, Brian, we have another home game.
Yep.
And this one, I think the way we've kind of set this up, this would be ideal for Tech. NC State, you mentioned already, they're kind of on the meddling side. To me, Dave Dorn's seat is on absolute fire. If he doesn't win 8 games this year, maybe now it's 7. If he doesn't go 7-3, he's going to get fired.
Yeah, I think he's at least got to get to 7, and I don't think he gets there. I think they're going to be probably a little improved relative to last year, but I don't think that they're going to set any worlds on fire. I've got them probably 4-6, 5-5, maybe.
Yeah.
Just depending on what they end up putting together. But we're doing a little tour of the triangle there, so that completes our tour of the triangle. I know the last one was a home game, but we took care of all the triangle teams there. So we got Duke, UNC, and NC State out of the way there, and that gives us our first open date.
Let's take a break. Let's breathe. We've avenged a couple bad losses last year. We made all the recruits wonder why UNC. Why are we committing to UNC when we go smack them? We put the nail in Dorn's coffin. Get an open week. Time to reflect.
Charge the batteries.
Yep, clear the batteries, but it's time to reflect because the way me and you feel, we reflect. We've had some good wins. We've avenged some things. But when we look up at Lane Stadium, there's some orange and purple walking through the gates. So, 5th week, early October, some of the best games at Lane Stadium that's ever been has been in early October, and it would be a night game. It would be 8 o'clock.
Clemson Tigers, buddy. Clemson Tigers. They're going to come to Lane, and I think we got something for them. I'm not, that's going to be the hardest game we play all season, obviously, and they are a team that I'd say if we played them 8 times, we'd lose at least 6 or 7 of them. But at home, after a bye, I think we might have a little something for them. So I think that if we're gonna nick them out there, I think that's the time that we would be able to do it.
Yeah. I think we've got the puncher's chance. I think we've got enough weapons on offense. I think our offensive line is good enough to hold up. Even this early in the season, we've got the depth. We put them here for a reason. We put them here because you've got to put them somewhere, and you don't want it to be so late where if they have injuries, they figured it out. You hope it's early enough in the process. Now, Brian, we've got to take a trip back down to North Carolina next week, though, because, after being home a couple weeks, we got to get some of these away games away. So let's drive down to Winston-Salem.
Yeah, we're going to take on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons down there. Quick trip for us. Like I said, I think based on where they are in the process, that's not a game that's going to should be a struggle for us. I think their defense will maybe keep it close, but I don't think that we should have a problem pulling away late.
No.
And that sets up another big one the following week. Who we got, Curtis?
Oh, God, the following week, get ready for an absolute slugfest. The atmosphere will be the same, and the teams
will.
I don't think it'll be on a Friday night, but let's go up to Pitt.
So we're still going to play to empty Heinz Field, right?
Yeah, we're still playing to it. There is no real difference, unless they allow fans in, and then Hokie Nation, get your cars ready. Let's go up there and let's turn that place, 15% maroon.
There we go.
But again, the way we're setting this up is you have Wake. That's still going to be a fight of a game down at Wake because I think their defense is going to be good this year. But I think what you said will pull away late. It's going to be the old early 2000s Virginia Tech when we had just unbelievable defenses and the damn offense couldn't punch anything to a point. All right, Brian. So we went up to Pitt. We've dealt with the normal Heinz Field atmosphere. We've made Narduzzi throw things.
Yeah.
Because Kenny Pickett isn't a good quarterback. Our offensive line held up good against that good defensive front of theirs, and it frustrated them all game. But we get somebody back at Lane, and we get to see sort of a new age of this team.
Yep, the Miami Hurricanes will travel our way, and we'll see what their new quarterback can do and see if they've got enough offensive line to keep him upright.
Enough offensive line to keep him upright. See, losing a lot of those pass rushers last year, they still have that stud.
Yep.
But it's a lot easier if you know Layden, he's the guy. We're just going to – Brian, what would be the call if you're sitting there and there he is over there? What would be the call you hear?
I mean, we can chip him all day. So tight end's going to chip him. Running back's going to chip him coming out. we'll definitely fan that way. So I think you'll see the protections get fanned that direction every time. Anything to keep him from getting upfield and in the backfield in a hurry. So I think you're always going to see, you see an elbow from the tight end off the line just to slow him down a little bit. There's going to be something here or there. There's not going to just be a lot of free roam one-on-one situations for our tackle there. So I think Big Dog Chris and either Luke or Silas are gonna have a little help depending on who's taking care of him.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So after, without a doubt, the brutalest stretch of our schedule, we got to be realistic. We couldn't make it completely. Me and Brian talked you can't make it completely crazy because it's like cake then this. Because you got to try to make it as perfect as you can. We get a nice bye. It's going to be early November. Nice bye. We went through some wars. Let's breathe. And let's go over a couple states. Let's go to Kentucky. Let's go to Louisville, where they've got, athletic quarterbacks, some good wide receivers, but that defense, it ain't that good.
Nope.
The offensive line lost, as you called it, they've lost bookends, won a damn first-round talent. So let's go down to Louisville with this very big game mid-November. One of those big November games, because we're playing this sort of, best two teams make it. This could potentially be one of those games where it's a make or break, like, all right, VT, go down there, you win, you put yourself in the driver's seat. You lose your.
Yeah. At this point, we'll know whether or not we have a shot at playing for the ACC championship game, I feel like, because you're down to your last two conference games. One of them's against your rival UVA, so you've got one last road game to go and handle your business. It's at Louisville. They are an up-and-coming team in the conference, so it's not. They'll probably be playing for something as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be a really big contest there, and hopefully we can take advantage of some of their. I think we're the more balanced team, so if we can score enough points, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, we definitely are the more balanced team there. So, and I also think, again, they've got the athletic quarterback, but maybe having new defensive line schemes, and it'll be late, so they'll probably know what we're doing, but maybe we don't get burned like we used to by running quarterbacks. So, Brian, let's get some revenge.
You want some revenge, eh?
I want some revenge. So, last year, UVA had a bye week, but then they played Liberty, and then they played us. So, that week before we play them on Thanksgiving weekend, let's play Liberty, or JMU, or ODU, or someone of that ilk.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm good with that. I think that will set us up nicely for UVA coming to Lane Stadium the next week. So, at that point, we potentially could be controlling our own fate as to whether we play for the ACC championship game. At the very least, we control our own fate as whether we get the cup back. So, I think having an out-of-conference game, especially against a team like a Liberty or a JMU or an ODU, I think that'd be a good tune-up, especially coming off a big road game, regardless win or lose against Louisville. I think that would be something there to kind of cleanse the palate before you have the Cavaliers come to Lane.
All right, so we already said it. Normal Thanksgiving weekend matchup. UVA, Virginia Tech. Last game of the year for us. This was the easy one. As soon as we started this, we just said you have to put that game there. You try to keep that game. You're probably going to see the Carolina schools do it. My assumption would be since Clemson's not playing South Carolina, they'll probably hook up with Georgia Tech. FSU Miami should be that weekend. Syracuse Boston College, and Louisville Pitt. Let Notre Dame play their out of conference that weekend. Let them hopefully, my hope of all the teams they play, let Notre Dame convince Navy Thanksgiving weekend, come up to South Bend, and let's keep this tradition going.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
All right. So, Brian, that's our perfect game, guys. So, Brian, a little earlier today.
I want to ask you right now, put a number on it. The 10 ACC games, how many Virginia Tech winning? I mean, I know that a lot of parts are still moving. We saw Caleb opt out. We're probably going to see more players opt out.
Yeah.
But what's the lowest common denominator you see in terms of us winning?
7 is the minimum amount of games we're going to win this year.
Okay.
I can see.
I was feeling the same way. I was saying 7 is probably what I would, if you had me put a number on, I'd say we'd at least get 7.
Yep.
If things go wrong or we have the wrong combination of players opt out and other teams don't, maybe 6.
Yep.
As high as 8, maybe 9, but I think 7 is a good number to put on it.
Yep.
Would you, like Stuart Mandel, say 4 and 6?
What a dumbass. That's all. Because if you read the write-up, it makes no sense. Like, oh, you don't have any playmakers returning. And Brian, you're sitting there like, wait a second. Hendon Hooker's returning. Trey Turner's returning. Tavion Robinson's returning. James Mitchell's returning. We just got Herbert from Kansas, who has been known to go off. And potentially we could have Blackshear come in.
We've got a couple other transfers that we've got coming in that potentially can touch the ball as well. So I just don't understand if you just look at, we got Hendon Hooker and Trey Turner. I feel like that's all he saw was Hendon Hooker and Trey Turner and didn't look at anybody else that contributed to last year's offense. That's all they have coming back. That's the only playmakers they have. Yeah. They're done. That provided there was no depth to the analysis. Then you look at the UVA assessment, which was like they lost their entire offense pretty much at wide receiver and quarterback, 6-4.
What it shows me is, as a national writer, he did very little research in that. In he works for the Athletic, who you would think, I'm hoping whoever his boss is lambaste his ass. But also, he's the guy who in 2016 said we'd go 5-7. So I like when Stewart's wrong. Because when Stewart's wrong, usually good things happen for Virginia Tech.
He doesn't really have a boss. He's the editor-in-chief for their college football coverage. So the buck kind of stops with him. So, which is kind of, in terms of college football coverage, so it's kind of interesting that, he didn't dive a little bit deeper on that, or, maybe he just has something against Virginia Tech, which is, it is what it is. But again, I would have a problem if he said 5 wins, 6 wins, maybe. I'm like, okay, well, it's lower than I'd pick, but without knowing a whole lot of information, if you threw a 6 out there, I'd be like, okay, I'll accept it. I don't like it, but I'll accept it. But throwing 4 out there, 4, that's pretty much saying any game that we would be picked to either win or lose by less than 7 points, we're going to lose all of them.
We're going to lose all of them, yeah. That's exactly what he said. But let's not worry about him. Let's move on. You said it earlier, and we're going to mention it again real quick. SEC announced this afternoon, 10-game conference only schedule. That essentially 86 is Florida State, Florida, South Carolina, Clemson, I clean old-fashioned hate, Georgia Tech, Georgia, and the battle for the Bluegrass State, Louisville, Kentucky. We'll touch on this probably next week because hopefully they will release at least the opponents, if not the full schedule, because, buddy, it's going to be like we talked about some of the games with the ACC. It's going to be the same with the SEC. It's probably going to be the same with the Pac-12. It's going to probably be the same with the Big Ten, which us as college football fans, which we are. It makes us kind of happy. Like, yeah, we get to see some games we maybe normally don't see.
Brian. Multiple games we normally don't see. We're used to the traditional cross rivalries that your Alabamas play every year and things like that. But now you might see, okay, well, they're going to have to play maybe Georgia and Florida too, or Georgia and Tennessee, or, it can be some really intriguing matchups, man.
Well, Alabama's constant crossover is Tennessee.
Yeah.
They are playing Georgia this year.
Yep.
So either it's going to be so the SEC has to be very smart of how they do it. Like there's that Florida team down there. Do we just give them that team, or do we do something else? It's going to be mesmerizing to see that. So awesome, Brian. We have got, that is so much we have given out tonight. A lot to digest.
Yep.
I mean, a ton. So the engagement question this week is, Boundary Corner fans, do you like this format? And if you don't, what would you have preferred? And the only unacceptable answer here, I just want a normal college football season. You can't go that way.
Because, I mean, other conferences have already made their decision. We can't control that anymore, so let's control what we can control. What we can control is how our conference plays games.
Exactly.
So, I mean, do you like the format, the 10+1? Do you prefer just a 10-game conference schedule? Would you prefer a pod situation where you play 5 teams in your geographic area twice?
Yep.
You know, what would you like? Tell us what you like.
Be creative. I'm good with this format. I think it makes the most sense.
I like it. I could do with or without the +1, especially since it's not going to likely be another Power 5 team. I could take or leave the +1, but it's nice to have it in there as a tune-up for a potential big game. So I'll leave it in there and say I'm happy with it.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So that wraps up this episode of the Boundary Corner Podcast. I am Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Subscribe for your podcast on your favorite source, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. As always, he plays us in, he plays us out, our buddy Jason Long. Catch him on Spotify and Apple Music. We thank you for listening. And as always, let's go.
Hokies!